How you doing, everybody? It's Wardy here, and I'm so excited to get into this one because it's a reality. It's no longer a dream. Juan Soto's a Met. He's arrived in Port St. Lucie. He's taking big hacks in BP. He's talking to the media, and we're going to deep dive it all right here, right now. Not only are we going to highlight Juan Soto in this update segment today, but we're also going to get into Francisco Lindor having spoken to the media over the past day, especially on the topic of being potentially the Mets' next captain. We've labeled this man captain for a number of years, but could it actually come to fruition now? That is the big question that we'll find out soon enough, hopefully. From there, we'll also get into Jose Iglesias, Mr. OMG, and how much he's pleading for a Mets reunion. And to wrap up the show, Kodai Senga looking absolutely stellar in camp to this point. So make sure to smash that like and subscribe on as you first chime in. And let me know on a scale 1 to 10, how ecstatic are you to finally see Juan Soto in Mets gear, taking hacks, talking to the media, and officially being a New York Met. Guys, we've been following him literally since he's a teenager, 18, 19 years of age when he broke out with the Washington Nationals. Fast forward all these years later, now we have Juan Soto for the next, hopefully, 15 years. I'm not complaining as a fan. I'm just so giddy and so excited to get this 2025 regular season started. And before we hear from Juan Soto himself, everybody, I just did want to share some key takeaways, some key little clips that we saw from PSL today, including just, again, what he even posted himself on Instagram, just admiring really being there finally in this Mets clubhouse. There's the Juan Soto jersey to his right, the new official Mets alternate blue roads that I will say I like quite a bit. Would like white piping in there, just like the Mets black jerseys currently, but that goes without saying. We also have Juan again taking his hacks, which is why I have a question not only on X at the WardyNYM, hit a follow there if you haven't already, but also to each and every one of you here right now, how many home runs do you think Juan Soto is going to hit this season? Because I got to be honest, I really do think that Juan Soto is going to be a guy that gives the Mets at least 35 to hopefully 40 plus home runs like he did in a 40 plus home run campaign batting next to Aaron Judge with the Yankees this past season. But just such an effortless swing, it goes without saying. That's why he is the $800 million man, essentially, should the Mets buy out his contract after that fifth year in his age 31 season or so, and I firmly believe he will do that. So expecting Soto to be here for hopefully the entire tenure over the next 15 years. He's excited. We're excited. And, a big takeaway for me, and that also goes in hand with this angle, that, he's taking some, soft liners there to the left side, Oppo, and then he starts to build up from there. And one thing that I noticed right away with Juan Soto is just finally having power, not only from the left side of the plate, but a guy who spreads all fields, as effortlessly and as dominant as Juan Soto does. And when I think about my personal fandom, the last time there's been a lefty bat in the corner outfield for the Mets that really stood out to me, not named Jeff McNeil to go the opposite way, it's Michael Conforto. Conforto was one of my favorite players during his time with the Mets, and that just tells you how low the bar is when we're talking about potential on seeing the ball spread all over the place from one corner outfielder to the next. Michael Conforto, when at his best, was able to do that not only for doubles, but also home runs galore with the juice baseball age there in 2019, especially if you know. We saw Michael at his best throughout those stints. Now he's with the Dodgers in a limited platoon role, whereas Juan Soto is going to be our starting right fielder for the next number of years. Who would have thought 3.5 years later, from Michael Conforto's final game in Queens to Juan Soto, that would be pretty much the direction? So Conforto, Marte, Soto, that is how our right field has been. I'm not complaining at all as a fan as to where we are currently. And the reason why I bring up Conforto is because, again, the bar is so low for what us Mets fans have properly experienced in recent years as to getting quality lefty batters in the outfield, but also guys that know how to spread the field. I hate guys that are completely stubborn on being a pull hitter. I love guys that know how to spread it as well for power. Soto does that better than most in the game today. You're going to see so many Oppo tanks, guys. Every time you think, oh, Soto just ripped an absolute nuke to the top deck to right, bam, he's going to give you an Oppo tank right after as well. Again, the possibilities are endless with a hitter as elite as someone as Juan Soto is, and that is exactly why we're all sitting here giddy and talking about him today. And furthermore on Juan Soto, before we hear from himself what he has to say about officially being a New York Met, let me just further reiterate the fact that this is monumental, guys. For him to arrive in Port St. Lucie, for him to be here, this is where it's really starting to kick in. It's one thing to have that presser with Scott Boras in attendance and everyone else in company. It's another to finally start to be taking hacks in PSL. And once we get ready for these spring training games, every day I'm going to feel like a kid in a candy shop. Literally, I feel like I'm going to have these pinch me moments constantly all year long, where it's not going to feel like reality, even while Juan Soto hopefully helps dominate and lead the Mets to the promised land at the end of the day. The reason why I'm going to have these pinch me moments is because if I'm already having them with someone like Francisco Lindor still, after the number of years he's already been here, I can only imagine what the feeling's going to be like with someone as elite of a talent and as truly dominant of a hitter as Juan Soto. And speaking of Juan, let's hear again from the man himself today when speaking to the media, folks. some key takeaways I want to share with you. And also, apologies in advance. And the audio level is a little imbalanced for myself. It has been that way in previous days, but especially because I'm out of town using the laptop. Just apologies in advance if the audio isn't exactly to your liking, but I'm trying my best here.
That I remember at your introductory press conference, you said that when you were meeting with the Mets, they laid out a pretty clear plan of what they wanted the team to look like. Now that it's pretty much done, what excites you most about the current group and roster here?
I think Peter Alonso is one of the guys that impressed me more, but definitely we have a great group of guys in here. I mean, on paper, we have a really good team. I'm really happy to be surrounded with those guys and to be part of this team. It looks amazing, you know. First day here, really excited how these guys were running around, going to their business and everything. So it's been pretty good.
I remember at your
Juan Soto's obviously happy to be here with the Mets on that 15-year deal, rightfully so. And then Soto, when asked on what Mets fans can expect, put it nice and simple for you guys in a quote. If there's one thing I can promise is that I'll be giving my 100% every single day. No matter the circumstance, no matter, how I'm feeling or whatever, I'm always going to be giving 100% to this Mets team. And from there, Juan Soto, when asked about, talking about this Mets lineup, this is his reply.
Juan, a couple of your teammates have already said that they felt this was the best lineup in baseball. Obviously, your arrival has a lot to do with that. What's the mindset for you guys? Do you look at that lineup and see that it has that potential already? And how much pressure is it on you, really, with all the expectations coming in?
I think it's a pretty good lineup. It's a very good lineup what we have. We have a lot of good hitters. We have balance in the lineup, and I think we have a really good one. There's teams out there that have a really good lineup too. So at the end of the day, it's gonna tell you who has the best lineup whenever you go a step in the field and show it. It doesn't matter on paper if you have the best team, you gotta go out there and play it. So that's the biggest thing. We have to show it. You have to show the world that we have a really good lineup.
So I love the fact that Soto made it known right away that, yes, we can talk about these things. And while I feel really good about this lineup, we have to go out there and show it. Again, talking is only going to get you so far. Actions will always speak louder than words. Furthermore, from Juan Soto, talking about, just arriving with the Mets and what this means for him personally for the next 15 years.
We last saw you 2 months ago when the contract was brand new. In the months since then, the weeks since then, has it set in at all that 15-year commitment, biggest contract in the history of pro sports? Have you been able to digest that?
Not yet. I'm still thinking about it and everything. It's just unbelievable, It's really, I'm really happy for that. I'm really happy to know where I'm gonna be for the next 15 years, and more than excited to spend it with this group of guys. I only hear great things about them, and let's see how everything goes.
We last saw you.
Okay, so Juan obviously is happy to be here for the next 15 years. And again, these are very cliche answers that you're going to be getting from him. But honestly, I still don't care because it's Juan Soto. He's with the Mets now. And I do love the fact that he's already shown some personality. He was asked, has he bought anything yet? And he said, no, not yet, but you'll see they'll be coming on things that he's maximized with, making over $100 million in his first year with the Mets. Yes, you heard that correctly. He's making $100+ million this year, at least gross, which is just insane. Absolutely insane. Let's see.
Press conference, you said that when you were meeting with the Mets, they laid out a pretty clear plan of what they wanted the team to look like. Now that it's pretty much done, what excites you most about the current group and roster here?
And also, is it safe to...
Apologies, folks. I muted myself for a second, but now I'm going to show you guys what Juan Soto has to say when looking at Carlos Mendoza and how he'll be utilized in this Mets lineup this season.
Assume you're going to be batting second. Have you had that discussion yet with Carlos?
We talk, but we haven't coming up with something yet. I mean, it's first day of the camp. He definitely has something. We got to keep talking about it. But I think we are on the same page.
You
Yeah.
like that spot in the order?
Yeah, I hit whatever he need me. Wherever he need me, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'm here to help the team to win. So whatever part of the lineup he wants me to, I'll be that. Right.
All I could say is Marcus Stroman, take some notes, my man. If you know, you know. And obviously, I'm joking with that comment, guys. You saw what Stroh said over the past day, and I know he kind of got set up by the media, but all he had to do was just say, you know, I'm ready to do whatever the Yankees ask of me to do, and that's all he needed to do to not have a soundbite. Yet he couldn't help himself. Whereas Juan Soto and a lot of others are being selfless and just saying, hey, we're ready to do whatever is best for this team and to get this thing locked and loaded, ready to go for 2025. So, guys, Mets fans, I definitely want to hear from each and every one of you, not only the excitement down below, but your high expectations for Juan Soto, and do you think he's going to meet them here in year one for this Metropolitan team? I would love to hear it, guys. If you guys want to see more on Juan Soto's remarks, head over to the SNY and or Mets YouTube channels as they have the entire interview for you all. But the final thing I did want to mention on the Soto front for now is that we did see Soto talk about Pete Alonso. When asked about Alonso, he did say that yes, his name was brought up a lot in the negotiation process, and yes, it is important to have that power protection, knowing that he's one of the best pure sluggers in the game currently. He also did make a note that it's not just about him, but it's a team effort and them wanting protection and making sure that they have protection. So it's not as much of like, oh, I need this, as it's we need this. We collectively know that we're pretty much a Pete Alonso type bat short from really having that kind of protection that we wanted in this lineup. Now, by having Francisco Lindor, by having Juan Soto, by having Brandon MOAs healthy, by having Pete Alonso, by having Mark Vientos, by having a healthy Francisco Alvarez, by having everyone else in company, guys, you look at this Mets line, it is one of easily the better ones in all of the National League, the best one that I'm going to witness as a fan at this point. And the fact that I'm saying that, it's just another pinch me moment, because we have no clue just how electric of a year it'll inevitably be for this Mets team. But now let's transition from talking about Juan Soto a bit to now talking about our potential next captain in Francisco Lindor. So let's go ahead and let's go and do exactly that, everybody. I also did see a little bit earlier, in case you guys didn't, let me enlighten you here. Soto was also killing it that we saw in his BP today. I mean, absolutely killing it. Anthony Tacoma with, again, going up way past the batter's eye, which is sick. So one little tidbit I did want to share there. Also did want to show you guys that, yeah, Francisco Lindor, he's going to be a daddy of 3 now. Congratulations to Francisco, his wife, and the entire Lindor family. They're expecting their 3rd child and their first son in their family. So I'm very happy for them. I think Lindor's going to go scorched earth once again, obviously, once the baby arrives sometime during the summer. I'd imagine mid to late summer is pretty much the direction it's looking like, just from her bump and how things are looking right now. So again, congratulations to the Lindor family. And like what we saw in the past couple of years, after Lindor has one of his children, whether it's a daughter or now going to be a son, he usually goes scorched earth right afterwards. We saw that last year. I think we're going to a couple years ago. I think we're going to see that again. So really excited to see the Lindor family expand. Furthermore, I'm beyond excited knowing that the Mets have a shortstop locked down for the next 40 years, knowing that you got, pardon me, I'm joking, knowing that you got obviously Francisco Lindor for another north of 10, and hopefully by the time his son, is 18, 19, 20 years of age, he's already set in stone to be the next true face of this Mets shortstop position. But all right, that's enough of putting pressures on the little man. He ain't even here yet. He's developing, but he ain't fully here yet. So let's talk about who is here, and that's his father, and Francisco Lindor. And Lindor spoke to the media this past day, and when on the topic of captain, this is what Mr. Smile had to say.
Francisco, you don't have the official title of captain for this team. This team has had captains in the past, and I think a number of us have referred to in that role. Do you see that as your role on this team in addition to performance-wise? Do you feel a captain's attitude with this group?
I do feel like I'm one of the leaders of the team, but there's a lot of leaders in there. A captain thing is something that is not up for me to decide. If it does happen, it will be fantastic. It will be an honor. It will be a privilege. Something I will never take for granted. Something that will put me next to the greats of this organization for forever, and it'll be very humbling. It's my job is not going to change. Just because I'm the captain doesn't mean I'm going to do more. I'm still going to go out there and hold guys accountable. I'm going to expect a lot out of myself too. I expect guys to, if they see me doing something that's not right, to come up to me and tell me as well, and to continue to lead, continue to play the game the right way, show up, post up, do whatever we got to do to win. When I first came to this organization, and that Steve and Alex brought me out here, my part of my job description was to help this organization become one of the best ones out there, and I have that in the very front of my mind. That it's just to make this organization one of the best ones out there. You got to win. That's number one, but also you got to do things the right way. You got to be accountable, and you have to respect your peers. You have to respect the game.
Not that Lindor wasn't a very respectful player like this when he first arrived with the Mets, but talk about what a true treat it has been to see the character growth of this man from the first time he arrived in Queens 4 years ago to now. It has been nothing short of chef's kiss to see his direction going upward, and not only on how he carries himself personally, as a player, as a father, and everything in between. It just further shows how impressive and how strong-minded Francisco Lindor is to completely evaluate and understand what is asked of him, what his expectations are, and completely understanding every element to this all, and what it is to be the best as a player, the best as an individual, and the best, most importantly, as a leader.
And you just got to go out there day in and day out and post up, And even if God willing it doesn't happen, if I'm hurt, you still got to show up and, do the things the right way and support my teammates. And to win is not a one-man job. So if the captain thing is presented to me, it'll be a very humbling experience, but that's not up to me. That's something that front office gets to decide, and I don't know who else gets to decide on that. So if you guys make the decision, just let me know.
I love that ending there from Francisco. Just let me know. I think it goes without saying he's probably had these talks with the Mets, maybe just to a little degree or to a great degree. We'll find out. I'll just throw this out there, and this was a fan on X that threw this out there a day or so ago that I actually agree with the thought process behind it. At least I don't know who they are, but they know who I'm talking about, and it is the following. Why not have Francisco Lindor named as the official Mets captain the day that David Wright has his number retired, and he essentially passes the torch, the unofficial torch there, from Wright to Lindor? As in that, there would be nothing more electric that I could think of than to not only have the David Wright retirement ceremony, in which everyone's going to need some Kleenex for, because we're all going to be crying our eyes out, rightfully so. But then you get in, okay, now paving the way from one, now let's focus on another. Like if he smoothly transitioned, thanking everyone so much, and then, kind of saying, bam, Francisco Lindor is going to be captain, it would be, I can't even imagine. I just have chills thinking about it. But I realize it's probably taking too much away from David's moment that day. So that's the case. Completely understood. No worries. But I just thought that was an interesting theory that a fan had, and I could see it just making sense on the idea of David Wright is our previous captain, pass the torch, and let that be that. And there's no better man to pass the torch to Lindor than David Wright, as selfless of a human being as they come, and knows exactly how to lead. And you know who also knows how to lead? You know who really knows how to get the best out of a clubhouse? That's Jose Iglesias. That's Mr. OMG. And that's exactly why we're now pivoting and talking about what is going on with Jose. And guys, also, you see Jose Siri and Juan Soto? Remember how they had a little bit of feud between the Rays and the Yankees last year, and some fans thought that, we're not going to have a good relationship going here, that this could be a problem? Yeah, that's exactly why. You guys just need to trust the process. They're giggling, they're having a great time, and the vibes will be electric with them and a lot of other Spanish Mets especially. The Los Mets this year are going to be electric, and I cannot wait to experience every aspect with them. The Dominican players, the Venezuelan players, the Puerto Rican players, the Nicaraguan players, if you want to lump Vientos in there, because I believe he's Dominican and Nicaraguan, but don't quote me on that. Just believe it from the WBC status that he has for next season, which is next year, which is a conversation for another day. But regardless, though, they seem to be happy. And before we get into more on Jose Iglesias, the reason why I want to highlight this is because while Juan Soto actually did say with the media today his importance on really working on his defensive game, and he prides himself on trying to be a Gold Glover. So hopefully Soto does have the best defense that we've seen since his final year with the Nationals, because that's the one and only year he's been league proficient in the corner outfield. He was electric for 1 year in the OAA, and then that was basically that, his final year with the Nats. Maybe back in the NL East will finally change his defensive defensive game for the better. But if it doesn't, that's okay, because you brought in Jose Siri for the entire purpose of backing up Juan Soto and backing up Mr. Plantar Fasciitis, 91 sprint speed there in left field, and Brandon Nimmo. Siri has more range than any other center fielder in baseball, per all the numbers for Baseball Savant. Electric speed, electric defense, and an electric arm. The guy has an absolute cannon. So he'll be backing up guys like Soto plenty in right field without a problem. The same way he'll be backing up Lindor without a problem as well. And I think we're going to realize quickly, even though Siri might be batting right around the Mendoza line, his defensive upside is going to be monumental in helping balance this team on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. But now, guys, let's get into a bit on our guy in Jose Iglesias, because there's love Juan Soto. My God, I can't believe he's actually here. It's insane. It really is, guys. But we did see over the past day or so, John Heyman had a sit-down lunch with Mr. OMG himself there and Jose Iglesias. And Jose did speak rather bluntly and straightforward on what is going on currently with his Mets tenure, or potentially the end of his Mets tenure. And this is what Jose had to say. Let me just scroll down here, make sure I can pull it up for you guys. Should be right around there. So there you go. At least you got the face. So, okay, it is the following, and I quote: "It hurts because we started something that definitely isn't finished yet. It took a lot of us to get where we got. That's what hurts. It definitely is a business, and I understand that, but it definitely hurts. It's a special relationship and culture with the organization, the players, and the fans." I couldn't agree more, Jose. John notes that Iglesias would sometimes refer to the Mets as "we" before having to correct himself. Literally crushing me right now, like actually crushing me. Jose, I love you. You have no idea how much I love you, but that's killing me. It really is, guys. Now listen, what we've heard over the past week is that the Mets are going in a different direction from Jose Siri, because they would like more flexibility in the utility role. They want guys with minor league options, guys that, especially if you have to send a guy down because, injury or what have you, or inconsistencies. It's easier than a guy in Jose, in which he won't have minor league options, and then if you try to DFA him once, he'll likely be picked up elsewhere. So that's why the Mets have a reluctance there in part. And since then, we have heard through actually Spanish play-by-play radio call for the Mets, that being in Johnny. I'm going to butcher his last name, but we did a video on it a couple days ago. He reported that Jose was planning to meet with the Mets as soon as this weekend or Monday. I'm curious as to if that'll be accurate or not, because we may find out in the coming days. John Heyman did allude to the fact that the Mets haven't overly approached Iglesias at this point. We've had heard rumblings through Pat Ragazzo that the Mets apparently offered a one-year contract that Jose said no to, but is that entirely accurate or not? We're going to continue to find out, but clearly this is more of a public negotiation, and I'm under the same belief that I've been with Pete Alonso. I firmly believe that until Jose Iglesias signs elsewhere, he'll be a New York Met. And you want to know why I feel that way? It's because Jose Iglesias feels the exact same way. In said article, when asked about his Mets tenure, he said that, if I'm being honest with you, how it feels right now is that I'm a Met until I'm not a Met, until I sign somewhere else. That door hasn't closed, that bridge hasn't burned. And you can clearly tell that Jose Iglesias, who was one of the most valuable players for the Mets last season outside of Francisco Lindor, a higher value on wins above replacement by 0.5 than even Pete Alonso, mind you. Iglesias did everything it meant to embody being whatever the Mets asked of him. He was selfless, he was a true leader, and he's exactly the kind of guy that you want to run it back with in a limited role for the kids, to help give the kids a leash. Because even if Jose has limited opportunity here, I think he'll be fine with that, knowing he's a part of the Mets and just getting a payday that's more respectable to him. He's a Scott Boras client, so the Mets maybe approach him like a 1 year, $1 million offer, and he's maybe pushing for, $5-6 million. I'm not exactly sure on the dollars, but there's a disconnect there right now, and just a 1 year deal. Jose wants to return. The Mets are trying to see if they have the right moves with their flexibility on the roster or not. All you have to do is not have Nick Madrigal start the year on the roster on a split contract for a noodle bat. That's a plus defender, has more upside, and has minor league options. I know that's why David Stearns likes him, but I also see why Jose Iglesias rekindling that relationship for the clubhouse vibes, for the on-field product, and also to put an arm over the shoulder of a Luis Angel Acuna, a Ronnie Mauricio, even though he's looking up at Jet Williams, what have you, same way that JD Martinez did for Mark Vientos. Because remember, guys, last spring training, all you guys are saying, the Mets aren't going to sign JD. I kept telling you guys, there's still a good chance the Mets sign JD. And bam, as we get into spring training, they sign JD Martinez. We heard up until that point that Vientos would be our starting DH. What happens? Bam, things change. Exactly why you should never take what David Stearns says as absolute fact there when talking about the roster construction, as if it's going to be firmly staying here. It's never going to be that way. It's ever changing. They're always looking to upgrade. They're always looking to find different avenues to make the team better. Do the Mets still value enough of Jose Iglesias? That's a great question, which is exactly why he has yet to ink a deal. He loves the Mets. Lindor loves him. So many players on the Mets love him. And he feels a lot like Jesse Winker in the sense that if he does land here, he will be selfless. He won't be overly selfish, and he'll just be happy to be with the Mets and be utilized in whatever fashion that they want, whether that's getting some starting reps at second base, whether that's just being your backup shortstop option for Lindor, who, mind you, is still dealing a little bit with the back, so that's something that the Mets will just have to focus on throughout the year. Lindor prides himself on playing every day, but as he gets older and as the back continues to be a reoccurring, a little bit of a flare-up issue, we're going to need probably to give Lindor an off day or two every once in a while. You know, he's not getting any younger. He's in the peak prime of his career, but we need to make sure that man stays healthy, because he's a huge focal point and you going anywhere out all this offseason. So if you want a true backup shortstop, you got Jose Iglesias right there versus your non-backup options in Acuna, in Madrigal, as no reps at the shortstop position, among others. That's the route that I feel that the Mets should go down, and if they don't, that's fine. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but it's abundantly clear as to why these sides should rekindle this relationship, and Jose is quite literally at the point where he's on his knees pretty much begging, saying, I love these guys, I want to be here, but I just haven't been approached that they want me the way that I want them, similar to Alonso. And in the end, I think this is a leverage play. And in the end, just like the Alonso negotiations, it's going to come down to what the Mets want more. And I think Jose is going to settle, barring changes, unless he really feels he gets slighted or gets a bag elsewhere, whereas the Mets are maybe offering just a quarter of what he gets with a lesser team that gives him a chance to play more every day, maybe be a trade chip at the deadline, among other things. But Mets fans definitely want to know where you stand on the Jose Iglesias front, if you're for or against bringing Mr. OMG back. And honestly, if you think it's going to happen, simply put, that's what I would love to hear from each and every one of you now, guys. And before we wrap this one up, let's get into what I thought was nothing short of a chef's kiss. Impressive day there for Mr. Kodai Senga with the Mets yesterday. He was looking lively, touching 96 already on the gun. Mind you, we're only in mid-February. He's already got pretty much his Major League velo ready for the season. Kodai's looking good. He looked fantastic. And as Carlos Mendoza put it himself yesterday, you know, he looked great. Like he looks locked and loaded, effortless, like nothing's changed with him. So Kodai Senga is hoping to give the Mets a healthy 2025 campaign, can be a massive factor along with a lot of these other rotation pieces and helping carry this Mets team in what's going to be a big year for the Amazins. But Mets fans, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. We talked about Juan Soto officially arriving. We talked about Francisco Lindor potentially being captain. We broke down Kodai Senga, Jose Iglesias, and any other topic that you guys are looking forward to us breaking down in the coming days. Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to smash a like and subscribe on your way out for the most consistent content on all things Mets all offseason and end season long here at WardyNYM. And this is your guy Wardy signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace.